but about a big viral social media trend over the weekend.
Oh, here we go.
How did you find out over the weekend that you were dead? You see that?
No.
People didn't see it for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. You know, I have heard, it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. But
That's not why we're saying that. You have a chronic vein insufficiency and you are swelling in your hands and ankles and you look like a sick fuck. You look like you're sick. And by the way, your White House says to us that you are just bruised on the hands because you're shaking people's hands all day long. That's crazy though, that Peter actually asked him, is he dead? Trump was clearly not prepared for that. I'm surprised nobody briefed him that somebody was going to mention that. That's insane.
Biden wouldn't do him for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own pretty nearby on the Potomac River.
So now he's talking about how he went golfing. He's so healthy, he went golfing, which, by the way, again, not working for the American people, not doing anything to alleviate your concerns economically, your concerns about war, your concerns about healthcare. But he was so healthy, he went out and golfed. So everything's all good, folks.
And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious. Well, it's fake news. You know, it's just it's so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong? I said, I just left. And it's also sort of a longer weekend, you know, it's Labor Day weekend. So I would say a lot of people know I was very active this Labor Day. I had heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent. Go ahead.
Were you active this Labor Day helping people who do labor in this country? Were you active this Labor Day actually working? No. And I understand everybody is a human, and a human needs to take some time off, and the president will go golfing whether we like it or not. But the reality is, it's not just about the fact that he was maybe gone for a few days. You are getting worse and worse, and it's not even just your physical health, but we can tell your mental sharpness is not there. You're not already, you're already not the right guy to lead the country, but your mind is slipping. It's becoming more deranged, more extreme. So I'm glad at least someone has asked him about that so far. Let's continue to see if they actually press him on this.
Peter.
We know that this country has a huge problem with school shootings. You've said that you're open to sending the National Guard pretty much anywhere. Would you ever consider sending an armed National Guardsman to every school?
Well, we have a big problem with school shooting, but we also have thousands and thousands of schools that run perfectly. You know, they talk about you can do things construction-wise, and that's really, I think nobody knows more about construction than me. You can build the construction doors. You can build what they call safety doors, where they lock on the outside, the inside, and every place else. Well, but if one of these lunatics happens to get through, then the police can't get in. Then they're looking for keys all over the place, and it takes a lot of disadvantages to doing, spending billions.
I mean, ironically, he's like debunking Fox News and far-right extremists right now who are like, oh, well, we don't need gun control. We just need to make safer doors and bulletproof doors and metal detectors. Well, then how are the police going to get in? And by the way, you're not answering his question about putting National Guard. But let me know in the chat right now, would you like National Guard to be positioned at would you like your children to go to school where there's a soldier with weapons standing there scaring everybody? I don't think so.
And billions of dollars, and actually making it safer in some way for some of these lunatics that we're dealing with. But I don't think so. I've thrown out the concept. We have great teachers that love our children. The parents love the children. Teachers love the children too. And if you took a small percentage of those teachers that were in the military, that were distinguished in the military, that were in the National Guard, et cetera, and you let them carry, that's something that a lot of people like. I sort of liked it. I'd have
Oh, nothing like the idea of having public school teachers, some who could be veterans, some who could be dealing with PTSD, bring a gun to school and have a gun in a classroom full of fourth graders and fifth graders. That sounds like a great idea, Mr. President. I love the idea of giving weapons to every teacher. Surely none of them are going to have problems, right? There's not going to be a teacher that might have mental illness. There's not going to be a teacher who might have PTSD, maybe gets mad at a student. And surely no students are going to find that weapon. Great idea, sir. Great idea, Mr. President. You're really saving the children of America.
to be studied, but they're trained. They know about weapons. You can't do it with every teacher because most teachers don't know, and But I always thought that would be an alternative. But it just we've had a lot of instances. Other countries have also. They have different kinds of problems than we have, but we do have. There's something going on. And it's a bad thing. Yes, please.
It's so fucking sad. It's so pathetic that we have this failure of a president who will allow for the next 3 years, or as long as he's still fucking alive, children to be massacred every month in this country because he's too big of a fucking coward and too incompetent to actually do anything helpful to help children. Anything. I ranted about this last week. They're still going back to their thoughts and prayers playbook, even though the children of Minneapolis were literally praying. And you heard Sean Hannity on Fox News say, well, if there was a metal detector in the school, they were in a church. So that didn't work. And the shooter shot through the window. Maybe we need to look at the weapons of war that people are buying easily. People are getting easier than you could get your driver's license to massacre children under this administration's watch.
Have you spoken with President Putin in the past week? Have you spoken with President Putin in the past week?
Yeah, I don't want to. I have learned things that will be very interesting. I think in the next few days you'll find out.
Classic Trump answer too, by the way. You're going to find out some information in the next few days. You're going to hear about a peace deal in 2 weeks. He may not have even spoken to Putin. What a joke.
Consequences if there isn't some type of announcement of a meeting with President Putin and President Zelensky?
Yeah,
and what could those consequences
We're going to
be?
see what happens. We're going to see what they do and what happens. I'm watching it very closely. Last week they lost 7,000 between the two countries, 7,313 soldiers to be somewhat exact, for no reason whatsoever. And they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, but they're soldiers. I want to see it end. Yeah.
Have you decided you're definitely going to send National Guard troops to Chicago?
I didn't say when, but the answer is, look, Chicago's very interesting because I watched Pritzker get up and say we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died.
It's almost like this is connected to the school shootings. It's almost like maybe we should just try to get weapons off the streets. But at the same time, this far-right extremist thug is saying what evangelical Christians are saying, what the NRA is saying, which is we need to give guns to teachers. Well, you want more guns out on the streets of our cities then? And you want more people to take guns with them when they go out after teaching? And you want more people to just shoot each other? You don't care if we just shoot each other, if we just kill ourselves. That's the reality. And so they don't actually care about gun violence in Chicago because they don't care what happens to black and brown people that are largely the victims of gun violence in Chicago. They don't care about them. They care about their white billionaire donors, and they care about sending a message to Democrats that they will take power and try to rig the midterms.
And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor get up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the two worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now. Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, and I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, they didn't do a good job with it.
What bullet fires are we talking about? The only bullets were coming from National Guard firing non-lethal bullets. And by the way, we say non-lethal. They struck reporters, and these shits, they hurt. They injure people and could kill people. And people will die if the National Guard accidentally fires at somebody. It's going to be a Kent State, Ohio situation all over again. The parallels are uncanny.
They should have had the water coming down, like I said. You know, we had to release the water. We had to go in and release the water to LA. It's so badly run. But if I didn't send the National Guard into...
How does his administration not get so fed up with listening to this guy, by the way? It's 1 week later, nothing's improved in the country. Things are getting more expensive. Things are less safe because ICE goes around kidnapping people. And he's still talking about the water, this imaginary faucet that he wants to just open up so that California is like a magical rainforest. What? We're living in fucking reality. What world are you living on?
Los Angeles. I would be making an announcement today. I'd be talking about Huntsville, and I'd simultaneously be saying, by the way, the Olympics is not coming to Los Angeles. If we didn't do that, and even the sheriff, the top law enforcement person in Los Angeles said, we could not have handled it without them. So that's what he said.
Make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look,
This is the first time, by the way, I want everybody to make sure they heard that. This is the first time he has made it official. He says, we're going in. They're going to Chicago. This is not hypothetical. And this could be the worst, the scariest, the most chaotic situation yet. Because LA was one thing. It was a test trial. And DC is another example. But DC has different jurisdiction. He had different power in DC. But when he goes into Chicago, into an area that is much more dense than LA. Remember, LA is a big city, but LA is sprawling, right? It's a massive county. Chicago is dense, right? A lot of people living in a much smaller circumference. This could get out of hand. This could backfire badly. And if this was really about crime, he would be coordinating with the Chicago Police Department. So much for Blue Lives Matter, I guess.
An obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably wouldn't do it. But it's so dangerous. And there are people in this audience that you've suffered greatly. There are people in this audience that have been mugged and hurt badly, and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you were very brave.
It's so funny listening to him talk about crime when his family is defrauded billions of dollars. He's never paid his taxes. He was literally found guilty. He's a literal criminal. And he actively steals from the American people on a daily basis by taking your money away in the form of tariffs because everything's getting more expensive and giving massive tax cuts to billionaires. But let's distract everybody by making them think that I'm the hero that's going to stop petty crime by sending the National Guard and letting them pick up trash in DC. What a fucking disgrace to our country this whole administration is.
Talking about it, you made quite an impression on a lot of people. I appreciate it. But there were other people in this room that have been hurt very badly just walking down the street in DC. Washington, D.C. is a safe zone right now. It's a safe city. The restaurants are open. They're booming. You can't get a restaurant. New restaurants are announcing that they're going to be open. This took place in 12 days. Now it's 15 days, but 3 days ago it became what's known as a safe zone. It's a safe city. And this city was really bad. Really, really bad. We took 1,600 people out, hardcore criminals that will not be coming back anytime soon. And we're very proud of it. You know, to have our nation's capital lose every week. You know, it was like years, many years, where every single week somebody was killed for many, many, many consecutive weeks. This went on for years. And then we had, last week it was announced that nobody was killed last week. And I made that announcement in front of a very distinguished leader of a country. And I'm saying proudly, ladies and gentlemen, nobody was killed in Washington, D.C. this week. He looked at me like, what's that all about? I said, yeah, we have a little bit of a crime problem, and we don't have a crime problem in Washington anymore. And the mayor has been very helpful, and the police commission has been very helpful, and it's been...
If they've been so helpful, why aren't you talking to Chicago PD? Why aren't you getting Chicago PD involved? Why haven't you talking to any local state leadership in Chicago, Illinois? It's not about crime.
A great team, and I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem, and we'd love you to send in the troops, because you know what? The people, they have to be protected. I saw today on one of your networks, not a friendly network, except really the opposite, I would say, very unfriendly network. And they interviewed about 12 people on this morning. Most of them were African American, who were black. And they were saying, please, please, please let the president send in. These were people from Chicago. Please, we need help. We need help. We can't walk outside. We're petrified. If the governor of Illinois would call me up, I would love to do it. Now, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country.
He doesn't have the right to do it, by the way. It's unconstitutional. The party that claims to care about the Constitution only uses it as a prop when it's convenient for their political gain. And by the way, it was just ruled today that what he was doing in California was unconstitutional, that National Guard can't be used to detain people, arrest people. And we'll see if he obeys the courts. But the courts are here for a reason. The courts are what makes us different from other countries, that we have a constitutional republic.
And that includes Baltimore. I saw where Governor Moore was asking me to take a walk down the street of Baltimore.
People are like, he has the right, he's the president. What do you want, a fucking dictator? Because you've made that clear already. You don't want to be an American. You don't care about the Constitution. You want a fucking dictatorship. Well, then go move to North Korea, asshole. Because in the United States of America, we don't have fucking dictators, okay?
Well, Baltimore is a very unsafe place. It's rated number 4 in the city, one of the most unsafe places anywhere in the world. But, you know, we took care. This was a beautiful thing that happened in Washington because we showed that it could be done. And this wasn't just sending big, strong guys, and they are big and they are strong. You know, we had a great decision from the Supreme Court that had to do with sort of talent. It had to do with you are put down based on merit. You can hire based on merit. So merit for a soldier or for a policeman is strong, physically fit, having a certain ability, not a person that is woke and got the job through woke, but wasn't strong enough to lift a gun out of the hole.
He doesn't sound very strong right now. He does not sound like he's in strong health. Maybe he's woke. Maybe he got infected by the woke mind virus. Maybe that's the illness he's dealing with. Obviously, I'm being facetious.
Et cetera, et cetera. No, I looked at the police. As you know, last week I went over, we had a meeting there had to be 300 people, and they were all very impressive looking. And when the bad guys see them, they're not going to do a thing. And so I'm very proud of Washington. It serves as a template, and we're going to do it elsewhere. But Chicago is certainly going to be high. I would love to have him call. I would love the governor of Illinois. I'd be honored to take his call. All he has to do is say, sir, we need help. It's out of control. And everyone knows it is. He's not kidding anyone. I would love to have, I would say Governor Moore call, because I watched him over the weekend trying to explain that Baltimore, what they need is housing. No, they don't need housing. They need to get rid of the criminals. These are hardcore criminals. You know, we took many people off the streets of Washington, D.C. They're hardcore. They're not going to be good.
Why do you think people become criminals, by the way? I know the answer. Lack of affordable housing, lack of opportunity, an economy that does not work for people, makes people desperate, makes people act desperate, do desperate things, join a gang, rob somebody, do something to feed their family, do something to stay alive. And maybe they get hooked on drugs that were put in the neighborhood by white billionaires like yourself. But Governor Moore has a good point. Providing more affordable housing would help people afford to live, and it would help people stay alive and stay well instead of joining gangs, instead of robbing people. But Trump doesn't see it that way. He's looking for the quickest, cheapest deal because he wants to fix something right now. He wants to put lipstick on a pig to make it look pretty right now while he's alive and he's president, but he doesn't care about the ramifications beyond his time.
In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals, frankly. They were born to be criminals, and they're tough and mean, and they'll cut your throat.
Do you people really think that people are born to be criminals, or is it the result of a broken system that some people want to improve and some people don't want to improve, like Trump, that allows people to become criminals?
And they won't even think about it the next day. They won't even remember that they did it. And we're not going to have those people. Washington, D.C. is now a safe zone. It's a safe place. And you can walk, Katie, you can walk right down the street with, by the way, one of the biggest human beings I've ever seen, which is her husband. He was a football player for like 11 years in the NFL. He's a big person. But big doesn't mean anything when they have guns and when they have knives and everything else that they have, right? But you can walk right down the street, even by yourself, and you're totally safe. Washington, D.C. is a great thing. Yes, ma'am, please.
Mr. President, as you're calling on Democratic leaders across the country to work with you on crime, do you see your efforts here in D.C., including, for example, working with Mayor Bowser here as a model for bringing more bipartisanship in matters not only with crime, but also issues that matter to everyday American people's lives?
So Mayor Bowser's been great. She could have taken.
He does not sound healthy. Every time he starts to talk, his voice sounds hoarse. It sounds cracked. Something sounds really off about him. Not to mention, what a softball question, by the way. Way to make it seem like it's the Democrats who are the ones that don't want to address crime, when in reality, it's people not wanting the National Guard to invade their cities when that doesn't solve crime.
The thing, oh, well, and then after I clean it up, they'll take credit for it. You know what they do is they take credit. Like, we cleaned up Los Angeles. We did a great job there. And it was overwhelming what was going on. And again, the police chief made a statement that we could not have done, there's no way they could handle it. You saw what was happening out there. It was going to be a disaster. We stopped it cold. If we didn't do that, would have been a very sad day. And you know, remember, we have the Olympics, we have the World Cup, we have all these things coming, and we have 250, all of these things coming. But I watched Newsom get up and say he's doing a great. He's not. We're the ones that did it, and that's okay, whatever it takes. But the main thing is we. But he got up and said we did it. Well, he didn't want us there, and he's going to need us again because it's starting to form again. I see it. It's starting to form again. You know, we have to maintain.
What is starting to form? What is he talking about? I'm here in Los Angeles. I'm looking out the window right now. People are going to work. People are doing their jobs. It's great. What is he talking about? I don't understand. But people who are watching this, who are Trump supporters, they've either never been to some places that he's talking about, or they just believe everything Trump says because they don't do their own research. It's really sad.
It's like maintenance on an airplane. You can buy it, but you have to maintain it. And if you don't maintain it, a good plane becomes very unsafe very quickly. So it's an honor to do it. It's a lot of presidents wouldn't do what I'm doing. I don't need this heat, but when I watched television last night and I'm watching the news and I see that 9 people were killed in Chicago and 54 were badly wounded with bullets, I say, That's not this country. We have to do something.
Why is this motherfucker like laughing back here? Like he thinks it's a game. He thinks it's funny that like, yeah, people are losing their lives. But all Trump is doing is he's going to try and take credit for it. He's going to be like, look, I fixed it during this 1 year of my presidency. But then when problems persist in the future because we're not addressing the actual root causes of these issues, then they're going to blame whatever Democratic administration is in charge at that moment, even if they start implementing actual solutions to the root causes that could maybe fix issues for the long term, but they're not going to take credit for it in the short term the way Trump is trying. It's a complicated thing, but it really isn't.